During this week, for the course Management of Inventory Systems, we will be taking up an important topic called JIT based approaches for materials management. As you may be aware that the JIT based system has been adopted by many organizations throughout the world, and one of the main objectives of the JIT based system is to control the inventory level, particularly for the dependent demand items and the WIP inventory, including the raw materials inventory. And it is an well accepted the practice, is a well accepted the system, and as a student of the materials management or inventory management, it is necessary, it is essential that you should be aware of the JIT based approaches for inventory and production control, and you also must know that how to apply these techniques. So during this week, the several aspects of the JIT based production system, particularly its relationship with the materials management, we are going to discuss. And in specific terms, there will be 5 subtopics, the lecture wise, that is, that way we have divided the lecture sessions. And in the first lecture session, we will refer to the concepts and the issues to be known when you try to develop a JIT based systems in your organization. Particularly, we will discuss the push system as well as the pull system. So you must have a thorough idea about what is the push system and what is the pull system. Then the next lecture session will refer to the Kanban system. Actually, the Kanban system has been adopted by many Japanese organizations for inventory control at the shop floor level, and it is a simple system, and anyone who is actually discussing or who is trying to implement the JIT based systems at the shop floor level, he or she must be aware of the Kanban systems. Working of a Kanban systems will explain the rules for operating a Kanban system. What are the specific rules you have to follow, and under those conditions only, or the preconditions, a Kanban system is workable. And one of the important the parameters in any Kanban system is the number of the Kanbans. So how to determine the number of Kanbans? And as the number of Kanbans, in many instances you will find it represents say the inventory level in a particular work center or at a particular work site during a specific period of time. In lecture 3, we will take off a number of numerical examples, and we will also continue our discussion on determination of Kanbans, number of Kanbans. In the next lecture sessions, lecture 4, again we will continue with our discussion on other types of numerical the problems, and we also must discuss the ways and means to achieve the JIT goal of batch size of 1. So this is one of the important the goals of the JIT based production system. So how to achieve this goal, what sort of the conditions you must impose. So all these details we will discuss with numerical example. During the last lecture session, we referred to one say the modified version of the Kanban system known as the signal Kanban. We'll also refer to other types of Kanbans, different types of pull systems you should be aware of, benefits of JIT based production and inventory control systems, and you also should be aware of the barriers to JIT implementation. So this will be your coverage. Now the next half an hour or so during the first lecture session, we'll specifically discuss the basic concepts and issues involved in JIT based approaches, and then once we have these ideas and we know what are the concepts to be implemented or to be practiced in a JIT based the system, then the two types of systems we will be discussing. The first one is the push system, and as an alternative to push system we refer to the pull system. So the pull system details also we'll explain, we'll discuss. Now, you know, till the 7th week we have referred to the inventory control systems, and you have also referred to say inventory control systems along with the production control systems. We have discussed what is an MRP systems and what are the modified versions of the original MRP systems. So all these the tools, techniques, approaches for inventory and production control you are aware of. Now we are referring to the just-in-time production system. Now in a just-in-time production systems, in short it is referred to as the JIT based manufacturing systems or production systems. The entire philosophy of say the production of the production and inventory control is totally different, significantly different. Now what is a JIT production system? Now it is a production system where only the necessary products at the necessary time in the necessary quantity are manufactured, okay, and the stock on hand is held to a minimum. So when your objective is to hold the minimum level of inventory, obviously you feel like adopting the JIT based say the production system, because if you have say necessary the products in necessary quantities, that means the demand is assured and you are trying to match say supply with the demand. So that is your main objective. So as we have already pointed out that the basic issue is how to get and a balanced system, in the sense that at any point in time the amount of supply must match with amount of say the demand. So if this condition is achieved, obviously you can run the systems with minimum level of inventory. And if you can run your system with minimum level of inventory, what is the main advantage? Your main advantage is your investment in inventory will be at the minimum, and if the inventory investment is at the minimum level, so the main the positive impact is that you have you have enough money to invest in other types of activities for improving your financial performance. So as we have already pointed out that the inventory actually signifies a locked up capital or the tied up capital, and as quickly as possible with the use of appropriate ways and means you must be able to release say the capital out of it. Now so in that context you have to run the systems with minimum level of inventory, and if you adopt the JIT based production systems or JIT based inventory and production control system, There are many instances where the companies are able to run the systems efficiently and effectively with a smooth flow of the materials within the production system with the minimum cost. Now, GIT based manufacturing systems emphasize the importance of developing an inventory system that ensures smooth flow of materials within the production systems at the plants. That means ultimate objective is whatever the model you use, whatever the methodologies you adopt, whatever the technologies you adopt at your production system. Now it is to be physically verified whether you are getting the best possible performance or not. It's like seeing is believing. That means if you visit a particular plant and the plant is in running condition, and if you find that even with layman's eyes that all the resources are running and there is perfect the smooth flow of materials within the production system, so immediately you conclude that the performance has to be very, very good. And as soon as you say that the company's performance is well accepted or excellent, obviously the inventory management systems plays a significant role. So that is your main goal, and the GIT based inventory systems primarily controls the raw materials and WIP inventory levels for dependent demand items. As I have already pointed out, that the controlling the WIP inventory levels is a serious problem. So the simple but effective techniques you have to adopt, you have to use. So what the researchers have observed, what the practitioners have observed over the last say a few decades, that the GIT system is a simple systems. That means if you have the right kind of attitude and you are really motivated, then it will be easier for you to adopt it, because the techniques which are used under the GIT under GIT philosophy, these the techniques are easily understood, and so that's why even the people at the shop floor levels, they play a very important role for the GIT, for the implementation of GIT based tools and techniques. They can very easily understand these techniques and they feel like using it or feel like implementing them. So the shop floor the level problems you are essentially addressing many a time when you adopt GIT based inventory control system. Now it attempts to control and minimize the waiting times or the queuing times. So this is also a very, very important issue, and it tries to achieve an ideal lot size of one unit. Okay, so it has its own the positive impact on the marketing strategy. Later on you will understand, but here I want to emphasize on this particular aspect, that is how to reduce the waiting time. Now what is most important is that what is your the throughput time. So the throughput time is a very important parameter to be monitored and controlled in any production and inventory control systems. And throughput time consists of four important say the time elements. The first one is obviously the setup time. The second one is the processing time. The third one is the transfer time, or say sometimes it is referred to as the material handling time. And the last one, that is the fourth one, that is the waiting time or the queuing time. Now what has been observed till date, that say the processing time may be just 5 to 10% of the total say the total throughput time, whereas the setup time could be around 20 to 25% in many cases of the total throughput time, and the rest 60 to 70% of the time say you spend on or you lose actually because of the waiting and because of transfer. That means these are not value adding activities. Now when you talk about JIT based production systems, that means you have to take an open approach or the total systems approach. You will be focusing on definitely on so the improving the processing time, but more importantly you should also take steps to reduce significantly the setup time. So as such, the setup time may be considered to be a non-value adding say the activity or the cost adding activity, so it should be as minimal as possible. And then the waiting time and the transfer time or the handling time as always the cost adding activities. So you have to take ways and means or say the approaches to control them, to minimize them. Okay, so now if you can say the minimize the waiting time and the transfer time, what you get a smooth flow of materials within the production system. And if you achieve these conditions, you can prove with the data and with the data that you are operating the systems with the minimum level of inventory. Okay, now this is true for say any item, and particularly when you look at the items at the shop floor, these are mostly the dependent demand items. So if you have control on the dependent demand items, and these demand items, their number is usually very huge, very high numbers, so it is quite likely that you have the significant control on the inventory control systems within your the manufacturing setup or the production system. So the JIT based systems is basically based on a philosophy of production where inventory is considered undesirable. That means many a time it is mentioned that what is an inventory. So it is referred to as, definitely you know the definition of inventory. That means something which is considered as idle resource with some economic value. If it loses its economic value, obviously it ceases to be an inventory. And now the another important say or the comment we make when you deal with the inventory inventory related inventory control situations, that is, inventory is a necessary evil. Without inventory, can you run the system? You cannot run the systems, you cannot produce. But if you do not if you are unable to control the inventory level, now it may act as an evil. So there are many instances. Later on in course of time we will be referring to those examples. Now JIT based manufacturing system was developed by Toyota Motor Company. You just make a note, Toyota Motor Company, in late 60s or in late 50s and early 60s, and one of the key areas of Toyota production system is JIT production systems. There are many areas. Very soon you will come to know what are those areas. So even the kinds of systems the Toyota Motor Company has developed, has implemented, okay, for appropriate the production and inventory control, these itself this is referred to as the Toyota production system, or in short TPS. Now this TPS has become a generic term, and many companies throughout the world these days, not only the Japanese companies, many companies in the West, many companies in European countries, even in Asian countries, they have adopted the TPS concept for their manufacturing system. So the TPS is a total system, Toyota production system, and there are many objectives of TPS. So there are 4 specific objectives. So please make a note. First objective is reducing costs by eliminating all kinds of wastes. Now, what are these wastes? That means the given production systems you also must be aware of, and you must be able to define these wastes. You must be able to identify these wastes. You also must be able to quantify these wastes at a particular point in time. So, what is your first goal? The first objective is how to reduce the different kinds of wastes, and particularly in the context of the production systems, there could be many types of wastes, and the inventory is considered as one of the such wastes. Okay, so that is goal objective number 1. What is objective number 2? Making it easier to achieve and assure product quality. That means it talks about quality assurance, not only quality control. Okay, I presume that you know what is the inspection, what is quality control, and what is quality assurance. Quality assurance talks about a system, or it refers to a system where even without doing any quality control activity or without carrying out any inspection activity, you can say conclude that the produced the items in the required quantities are conforming to the specifications. They are of acceptable quality. So that sort of condition you have to achieve. There are many organizations throughout the world, progressive organizations. They have adopted this particular system, and these quality assurance systems, they have been running for a long time. Third objective is attempting to create work sites that respond quickly to change. Now, please make a note of this particular objective, and when you refer to the JIT based production systems, you come across a situation called erratic demand pattern. So if you say encounter a condition called erratic demand pattern, so what you need to do, the push systems may not work so effectively. So what you have to do, that means the push systems should be changed to the pull system, and a pull systems, when you implement, it may be a very effective system to respond quickly to the change in demand. Okay, so that is your third objective, and the last objective is organizing work sites based on human dignity, mutual trust and support, and allowing workers to realize their potential fully. In other words, what we are saying, that whatever the tools and techniques you recommend to use for implementing the JIT based production systems, they must be well adopted and used by the workers or by the work personnel at all levels of the organization. Okay, and there must be so they must come forward, because many of these techniques, when you use, you will find they are to be controlled manually. So the people's participation is a must, and people should wholeheartedly participate. That's why the human dignity and mutual trust and faith and support has to be there. Otherwise, all these tools and techniques may not be effective at all. Okay, so these are the 4 objectives. Now the TPS covers a number of areas. So please note down these areas. These are very specific. First one is, it talks about the process design, job design and job standardization. So this is just one category. So the process design, you must get into the details of process design, then the job design and the job standardization. This is one set of responsibilities you have. The second one is, we'll be taking up these issues: economic lot sizes and the accelerated setup times. Okay, so I have already pointed out that the setup time reduction as well as in the setup cost reduction is an important goal in JIT based manufacturing systems or the production systems. So you have to have say a system which permits this condition, which is the accelerated setup times. That means setup time should be as minimum as possible. Okay, very quickly you can set up the machine. So machine setup time should be as minimum as possible, and the entire setup activity should be as simple as possible. Just-in-time production, this is one of the key areas in TPS. Automation, this is actually Toyota coined term. It means automation means if you start producing at a particular machine tool a defective item, the item actually immediately the machine will stop. The Kanban system, Jidoka and AND-ON. Actually, this is the problem warning systems, Jidoka and AND-ON, and EOE-DON. EOE-DON is basically, it means the synchronous the manufacturing. The most distinctive and dominant among these areas is the just-in-time production system. One of the key elements of JIT production system is the Kanban systems. We are going to discuss this Kanban systems in various forms, okay, in detail, the application of which ensures a smooth flow of materials among production stages with minimum level of raw materials and WIP inventory even under highly fluctuating demand condition. A pool type production system is used to respond effectively toward a fluctuating demand situation. JIT based production system is capable of minimizing or eliminating different types of wastes. So these wastes are grouped under three categories: Muda, unevenness, and Muri, overburden. So later on, in details we may discuss these three types of, say, the waste. In a typical production systems, wastes are classified in 7 types. So this, these types you must note down. First one is the correction. Second one is the overproduction. It is not a desirable, aspect. Unnecessary processing, conveyance or material handling, unnecessary movements, waiting, and inventory. Okay, so among all these wastes, inventory may be considered the most critical as it is considered a necessary evil. This point I have already mentioned. The implementation of JIT production philosophy helps eliminate uncertainties. That is the point to be noted. That means from an uncertain the situation, you may move to a certain situation. Okay, so that the inventory can be reduced to the minimum necessary amount. Now, the goals of JIT production systems are manifold. They are to be achieved simultaneously. This point is to be noted. These goals are zero inventory, zero defects, zero handling, zero assembly, zero waiting, zero setup, and batch size of 1. So there are specific tools and techniques we use. Later on you will come to know to achieve the goal of zero inventory by following the principle of continuous improvement or the Kaizen. This point already I have mentioned. So under JIT based systems, inventory management at the shop floor is an important issue. Details of the important tools and techniques for shop floor inventory management are to be known for their implementation. The main advantage of implementing JIT based inventory management are threefold: minimum cost, maximum quality, and minimum throughput time. Now, as far as production and inventory control system is concerned, there are two types of systems: MRP systems and JIT systems. Already we have discussed the MRP systems. So now MRP system is known as the push system, whereas the JIT system is a pull system. Now these push and pull systems we will be discussing in our next lecture sessions. Okay, so thank you. So I stop here.